So, hi, my name's Laurel. So I figured today, since we're doing more of a workshop style, of course, you're going to get your bodies moving, but I have a list here of all the movements that Emily sent me. So if I miss any of them by the end, please let me know so I can go over any other ones. And if at the end you still haven't found a good modification or a move still doesn't feel good to you, maybe make a note for yourself so you can remind us at the end if anybody wants to hang out and get like a little bit more, personal adjusting. Just hang out a little bit longer and I'll be happy to discuss something even if it looks completely different than what everyone else is doing during that move. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so I figured we would start with probably the easiest movements and then kind of move into the more intense ones that maybe we want to be a little bit more warmed up for. So
I'm spotting a cat there too.
okay. And if a move like tends to be really difficult or cause problems for any of you specifically, and any of the cues that I say really click, I recommend, making yourself a note, because maybe it makes perfect sense when I'm here saying it, but then the next time you do the exercise, it's like, wait, I remember this felt so much better, when I was doing it with some adjustments, but now I can't remember what that was. So if you find that there's a movement, make yourself a little note or, write it in your phone, whatever you need, because, you're going to be doing these workouts a lot. I know you guys are really consistent. Okay, so let's start just with a simple plank. So the one that I did with you guys is on your forearms. So there's a couple pieces that we can do to make this A, more effective, and B, make sure you don't hurt when you're doing it. So forearm plank. So obviously the easiest way to modify is to come down to the knees, but there's a couple ways to make it more efficient and more muscle engaging. So from here, we're going to be in your plank, right? Oftentimes, as the minutes get longer, we get a little tired, and a couple of things happen. One is that the butt goes up in the air because it makes it easier on the core. The other one is that the butt sinks down because we get tired and those muscles can't do what they're supposed to. And the other is that our weight pushes back in the heels. So while you're in your plank, I want you to imagine you're pushing the ground away and like your upper back is actually going to be rounded out a little bit. So you can kind of play around, letting your chest come closer to the ground, then push away and see what that position feels like. It should feel a lot more challenging already. And then I want you to push your weight up onto your toes forward slightly. That right there should be a really engaged plank. So maybe a little extra trembling that you might not normally have. From that position, if you need that modification, without changing anything else, feel free to drop the knees. So we are here in our plank, our butt's down, we shift the weight forward, and without changing anything, just drop the knees. So our weight's still shifted forward, hips are still in line. Oftentimes when the knees come down, the butt goes up, right? So tuck down, keep a slight rounding in that upper back. Let me see if I can. Does that feel good to everybody so far?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So those are the couple tips I'd give for a simple plank on the forearms.
Do we need to do it on the forearms, or can
No. Yeah. What was the last part of that?
It seems just as easy to do it on your arms.
Yeah, so you can absolutely do it up in a high plank. The pieces for this I'm gonna recommend are really wide fingers so you can push into the fingertips as well as the heel of the hand. And the same principles are gonna apply. Push the weight forward, and you see a little rounding in the upper back, right? If I don't have that rounding in my upper back, my shoulders are really relaxed and it becomes really heavy in the hips. So push everything away from the ground and you'll feel a lot more engagement through the core. Is that better for you? Awesome. So since we're doing the plank, I'm going to go right into mountain climbers because those a big one. I know. So a couple modifications rather than just holding the plank for the mountain climber is going to be to incline your hands to make it slightly easier. Okay, so I'll show you from the ground and then I'll show you on an incline. So same principles are going to apply. It's really tempting to shift our weight backwards and do our mountain climbers back here. Shifting your weight forward and keeping your weight over your fingers is going to give you the best position for the most shoulder engagement and core engagement. Yeah, everyone looks really solid. I can't see Dad and Lisa because you guys are a little lower, but everyone else I can see. Perfect. Yeah, those look great. So I know that during the workouts, there's like a fair amount of plank
Laurel?
Yes.
What do you do if you can't be on your wrists?
You could totally do them on your forearms. And since sometimes with mountain climbers, there's not as much room when you're on your forearms, hold yourself onto an incline, whether it's your couch or a chair, and you can move from that position super easily without putting weight on those wrists.
That's a pretty big chair. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and of course, I'd be happy to look at those in a second.
I'll look at it later.
Yeah. Any other questions on those ones?
I find I twist my ankle on those mountain climbers. This is Deborah. I'm dark because I'm a mess today.
Okay.
Hi. So I twisted my ankle really bad.
Yeah.
Now I also slow things down. I'm probably like your parents, your dad's age.
Yeah. So
but is there? But then I don't even want to do it after I twisted my ankle. So do you have another suggestion?
Well, does holding a plank normally, just like without the running, bother the ankle at all?
So the planks I've been doing on my knees, that was something Holly suggested when I start out. And now I'm only like lifting up a little bit because I figure I'm building up to that. And my hands have not hurt me so far.
Perfect.
But you asked me about my ankles. No, but the plank, because I'm on my knees, it doesn't affect my ankles.
Yeah. Good. So I would say a good modification so you're not, putting too much pressure in those ankles yet. So we're doing your plank like this, yeah? So
I've been putting my, whoops, sorry.
I lost you.
Okay, I've been putting my legs on top of each other. Yeah, maybe that's all wrong.
So I recommend keeping the feet unhooked simply because when we cross the legs, it's going to adjust the way the hips line up. And so if you do just straight legs, that's going to keep everything a little bit more symmetrical through the body. Is that so this is kind of similar to your plank, or you're down here?
I'm down.
Cool. So a really good modification for that mountain climber, if you're looking for something other than just holding that plank, is just to shift your weight either with a leg, or you could turn it into shoulder taps. Because one of the main benefits of those mountain climbers is to shift the weight from side to side, so your core has to work really hard.
Right.
And so doing that with either the legs or the arms would be a really good modification.
Okay.
Does that seem like something good for you?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it seems right to go right into a push-up from here since we're all nice and warm in the upper body already. I know. Push-ups are like the best exercise and one of the hardest. So similarly to that plank, a really perfect option for modifying is going to be to lift your upper body onto either, the edge of a couch. I've got my little purple box here that I like a lot. So that's going to be a great option because I know, you're doing push-ups for what, a minute or 2 minutes at a time? Something like that. So I'm going to go over all the basics on the ground and then I'll show you on the incline and then we'll go over some modifications as well. So push-ups are hard. They're full body, even though they're, main upper body. So couple things to keep in mind. One it's a great one to modify so that you can build up the strength to have a really strong push-up. So don't be afraid of modifying even from the beginning. You'll build up that strength and then be able to have a stronger push-up in general. Sometimes it's really easy to, do something incorrectly, and then those muscle memories just kind of keep coming around, and we continue to do the pattern that may not be 100% giving you the best strength results. So to set up the hands, we're going to go slightly outside of the shoulders. So I'm going to actually show you this direction. So just outside of the shoulders, right? We're not right underneath. We're not super wide. Just outside the shoulders. Knees or toes are fine. So find that perfect plank we just talked about. So if you can, you should be able to rotate your elbows out and in from this position. So we're going to find a position with the elbows facing almost backwards, but not all the way behind you. So it's going to be about a 45-degree angle elbow bend from your body. So as you come down, the elbows do go backwards and slightly out. Sometimes we'll see, I call them chicken wings, where the elbows come super, super duper wide, and you might feel a lot of stress in the front of your shoulder. So tuck the elbows back slightly, and the angle looks like this. So just outside of the shoulders, and the elbows stay right on top of those wrists. So over here, elbows go slightly back, body comes down, one solid like it is definitely hard. So I'm going to angle and show you guys from an incline. It should look very similar. So I'm on my couch.
Where are your hands when you get down there? Are your hands going to be at boob level or shoulder level?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, they're going to be lower than your shoulders. They should be kind of like in line with your rib cage, boob area. Yeah. The reason being, if we're up here, it's really easy for these shoulders to internally rotate, right? Pull forward.
So when I come down, I should be like right there.
Hold on, let me find you.
Sorry.
That's okay. There's a lot of people, so I'm just gonna.
That's very exciting. We're so glad you're here, honey.
Thank you. Okay, I'm finding you. Okay, found you. Okay, show me.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I see the elbows in pretty good alignment. Yeah, and you should feel a lot more chest engagement when you're doing it right, rather than right in front of that shoulder.
Yeah, I think I used to put my hands out too far.
Yeah, it's really common. Well,
Okay.
because we're coming out of the plank a little bit sometimes. That pushes the weight forward. So really common. Those look good, Dad.
So for somebody with elbow issues,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know a way to do a push-up that doesn't involve like.
Yeah,
It's
an elbow dominant movement. So if either the bottom position or that locked out position bothers the elbow joint, I would probably come up with a modification. If you have weights at home and a dumbbell chest press doesn't bother, that would be a great modification. Or if it's just maybe the bottom range, you could make it a little shallower, so you're not going all the way down to the bottom. Vice versa, same thing. If it bothers you all the way locking out the elbow, don't lock out, come just shy of that. But other than that, if it's just a really sensitive movement for the elbow, yeah, it's going to be a hard one to to get the elbows out of it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Can I show you the chair push-up? This is Sarah Law.
Yeah,
Show you the chair push-up.
absolutely. I can see you. Yep.
All right.
Yes. Good. Yeah, that looks great.
Okay.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, exactly. And so that's a perfect incline. So you can do the incline on the knees or the toes, right? So we're here. Same principles are going to apply. Nice, strong plank, lowering the hands, or up on the toes even is going to be easier. This is a really squishy couch, but a solid chair might be a better idea. Sweet.
Laurel, I I have yet another question about this. So I have hand problems and I have elbow problems. So most of these things you've shown so far are things that I do something completely different for. But for push-ups, I go to a doorway because I can pivot my hands better. And but my hands are very wide, and I don't really feel it here. I feel it more here. But do you think that it's safe for me to keep doing it with my hands wide in a doorway?
It's definitely safe. If you find that after you've done, a workout that you have pain in a joint, that's the thing to pay attention to. There's no really good or bad movements or exercises. It's that some movements aren't going to be healthy for some people and some movements are going to be healthy for others, right? So depending on your personal mobility and strength and what feels good to you, that's what to pay attention to. So if you're getting that nice stretch and contraction wherever you're at with no pain, then it's a good option for you.
Okay, cool. But I'll watch out for feeling it here, because feeling it here is bad. So thank you so much.
If you feel a pinch, then adjust what needs to be adjusted. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go. Now that we're talking about shoulders and all of these alignment things, let's go into dips, because we should be nice and warm, or at least I am. So dips, I think, are probably one of the more challenging ones in this sequence. So you're going to have either your couch or your chair, whatever you've got. When you line up the hands, we're going to have them right beside the hips. They could go a little wider if you'd like. My thing is very narrow, so I'll show you from here. Couple pieces. One is to keep it loading the tricep. Your butt should be close to wherever you're dipping off of. So if you find that you're way out here, it's probably that the movement's challenging for you and that you'll just be working up to getting closer and closer to your box or chair, okay? So setting this one up, I always just remember fingers face the same way as my toes, so everything's gonna face forward. From here, it's a big shoulder roll. Pull the shoulders back in together, so you should feel a pinch in between the shoulder blades, and your chest should be super, super high. So if you find your chest collapsing, that's the end of your range, right? So that means that the triceps have stopped doing what you're asking of them, and that you're trying to recruit different muscles. So we're gonna be here, chest up, shoulders back, and you're gonna dip your butt down by pushing your elbows straight backwards, right? And so the chest stays lifted in this position before pressing back up to the top. So I'll show you kind of what happens when we stop loading the triceps. As we come down, we start to get a little tired or weak, and the chest comes down, right? And the shoulders come forward. So from here, if you're able to lift up, pull the shoulders behind you, and reset that position, because maybe it's just that, again, that muscle memory has been going on. But if you can open up the chest, open up the shoulders, and squeeze behind, you'll get a much more tricep dominant push.
Laurel, will hold that it's stable enough?
Say that one more time. I didn't get the beginning.
Can you show an alternative for like the floor?
Yeah, absolutely. The floor version, you can still see Nicole. It's going to be the same setup. Fingers and toes are going to still go the same direction. And I find pulling everything fairly close together. So I'll pull my heels in close. Same principles are going to apply. The chest needs to stay up, and you need to pinch the shoulder blades behind your back. From here, elbows go behind you again. Dip until you can't go any further because your butt touches the ground, and then extend back up, right? So it's kind of like a little angle with your butt going towards your legs and then extending the legs back up. I find that the most common thing is just going to be those shoulders coming forward as the elbows bend. And again, just pull them back in together. Yeah, perfect option there. Yeah. All right. Any specific questions on those, or are they feeling pretty good? They're one of the tough ones for sure. Wrists. I see a wrist. So
Can you where is exactly the tricep so I can figure
yeah. So the tricep is this muscle right here from the elbow to the base.
That's the
right
part
here.
that should be engaged.
Mm-hmm. And so just think opposite of your bicep, right? So it's gonna be, when you're doing this move, when we're pushing down, it's that back position right there that you should be feeling burning and contracting.
What was happening?
So Lisa, Laurel,
Hmm?
so I use a weight.
Yeah,
Is that work? Is
that's
that
a perfect option. Yep. And I'll grab it and show you. Perfect option. Yeah, so if you want to do a tricep kickback, the same ideas about where the shoulder needs to be pulled are same as with the dip. So if we're here in your plank, you pull the arm up and back. Shoulder pulls back in together so that we're open right here, okay? When you're extending, you want the top part of the arm to stay still and the elbow be the only joint that's moving. Yeah, so the top part doesn't go anywhere. You keep it locked into place with the back of the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect tricep modification. If you only have one weight, you could do this one overhead. Here, I'll angle you. So being here, you know, another tricep modification, if the dips bother you, is back behind. Elbows face forward, and at the bottom, they still stay close to my biceps. Yeah, so no chicken winging again, right? Yeah. Yeah, I see this. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, you guys are great. Awesome. Yeah, those look awesome. All right. So let's finish it out with a side plank. Since we've done so many planks already, why not? And then we'll move into the lower body. So side planks are gonna be either off of that forearm or the hand again. So I'll start on the forearm, I'll show that option, then I'll show on the hand. Alignment is everything. So remember in that plank, I had you push your weight forward over the elbows. That's gonna load the core. On this one, think long neck, shoulder, and elbow are gonna be in line here. Okay? So your options are either stack the feet or scissor the feet. I like stacked personally. If I'm holding a side plank, I like my other arm up or maybe like a sunbather. Lifting from the bottom, the idea here is to get as high off the ground as you can, right? Without pushing some other direction. So oftentimes the elbow will be too high up and you'll again be feeling it in that kind of shoulder crease. So put right underneath your shoulder, lift, and you'll feel pretty stable here. The other option is knees, bend the legs back and keep everything high. Same with on the hand. The difference being that keeping the neck relaxed is going to be extra important for this high plank on your hand. Over here, it can be really easy to get lazy and for this little neck pocket to disappear, right? So imagine you're pushing away from the ground again to create a really nice, strong platform to be able to push from. Yeah. Could do that from the knees too. I think forearm and knees probably go a little bit better together.
I have a question about that side plank.
Yeah.
Can you do one knee on the ground and one foot?
Absolutely, yeah. The bottom leg, the bend.
Okay. Yeah, it's like one is too hard, one is too easy, and that's like where I am right now.
Yeah, you could even lift it up if just having the leg on the ground helps. And then you've got even a middle variation here, whatever works best for you to find that happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, hun.
Picking up the lower one.
Mm-hmm. You could pick up the lower one if you're, I find that the only way that works is when both legs are straight. It's extra hard. Cool. Yeah. I see that, Emily. Yeah, exactly. Those inner thighs working. All right.
Oh no, I was thinking, well, let's see if I can get it to show. have that leg straight and pick the inner one up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can definitely do that. It makes the balancing a lot harder, right? I love that. I love all the variations you guys are already finding. So, that just tells me that, all you want to do is move, and that's fantastic. Finding what works best for your body is awesome.
Hey, Laurel.
Yes.
So the answer to this may be no, but is there a way to do a plank as somebody who pretends she doesn't have arms? So like, I know it's to build core strength, but like, I just do something else. But is there something I can do to build core strength without being on elbows or wrists or whatever?
Absolutely. So I'll give you two options. One's going to look really funky and the other one's not going to look as funky. So there's a thing called a Chinese plank. So if you have a couple of things that you could use to elevate your chest and elevate your legs, but still load your core.
Oh.
I'll go with my couch. So they look really funny, right? So my feet are going to go up here. My chest is here. And I would be like this. Still pulling the abs in, right? So this is a great option. And it looks silly, but for sure you're getting your core. The other option, if you don't have those things to play around with, are going to be some form of core work off of your back. And my personal favorite for clients is some form of hollow body position. Some people call it different names, but this is what that looks like. So arms and feet are going to go super long. The important part to load the core is going to be where your rib cage and your hips are. So from here, you probably have a pretty nice arch in the low back. From here, we're going to try to get rid of that. So the rib cage is going to close. My shoulders probably come off the ground at that point. And then my hips also are going to come as close as they can to the rib cage. Bend the knees or straighten, whatever feels best, and whatever allows you to keep your back flush to the ground. So this is a full body position, and you can probably hear my voice is fairly hard to talk because your core needs to be working extra hard. Another great option is to bend the knees or reach the arms towards the hips. And similarly to a plank, the more you can crunch the rib cage towards your hip bones, the more you're going to get that tremble muscle effect.
Wow, super cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So let's do some legs now that our upper body is nice and worked. So
Did you say tremble muscle effect?
I said that. Yeah, it's not obviously not the technical term, but you know that.
Good?
Say that again.
It's good when I'm when we're trembling.
Yeah, so when the muscles do that, they're just reacting to this stimulus, right? So they're contracting and relaxing really, really, really fast. And so it means that you're engaging something. So they're really trying to do what you're asking of them. And that's why we tremble. Yeah, so when you get that little shiver in the muscle, that's good. That means that you're engaging everything more than what maybe you could be doing. Yeah. Yeah. All right, ready for some legs?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's start with squats because those are the basic movement. So I'll lift you up a little bit. The basic squat. I know sometimes the knees can bother us, sometimes the hips can bother us. The pieces to pay attention to, first of all, is working from the ground up. I know it's hard to see everything. There we go. So from the ground up, we're going to focus on the feet first, then the knees, and then what the hips and the butt are doing. On the ground, imagine your foot being like a little tripod. So the ball of your foot, the pinky toe pad of your foot, and the heel of your foot. So you're going to make a little pressure point system on all 3 points. It should feel kind of like a little claw on the ground. What that does is it A, stabilizes, and B, it gets the knees more in line with where we want them. So the feet are going to be outside of your hips. Most people work well with slightly turned out toes. So it doesn't have to be super, super wide or anything, but a little outward external rotation works well for a lot of people. So find those 3 points of contact in your shoe or your foot. From here, I want you to imagine the knees are going in line with the fourth and fifth toe, kind of outward as you push your butt back. So knees go out, butt goes back, and you sit down. And the reason I'm focusing on the knees is because if I don't focus on the knees, they can either stay in or they block me and I can't get as low, or I end up doing more of a hinge movement. But if you move the legs out of your way, the hips should drop straight down. Yeah. Yeah, good. I'm just checking you guys out a little. Awesome. Yeah, those look great. A really nice modification if you want to be consistent with, you know, how low you're getting, or maybe you find that the very bottom of your squat bothers your knees, is going to be to give yourself somewhere to touch down to. Same pieces, but just little tap and coming back out of the squat, so that either you don't go too low and bother the knees, or that you know that you're getting low enough, whatever your personal obstacle is there. How are those feeling for people?
Better
Thumbs
than
up.
it usually does on the knees.
Yeah. Say that again.
Better than it usually does on the knees.
Good. So oftentimes when the knees bother us, while you're doing a movement, and they may, you know, maybe they bother you a little bit afterwards, but if you find that like going through an exercise is really, you know, bothering one joint, it could be that either the, you know, specifically thinking knee, that the ankle or the hip are actually, could be more of the issue. So focusing on that, how the foot is being planted, and how the bone that connects these two, right, out in that kind of internal external movement, how that plays part is going to be huge. So if you find that, you know, oh, maybe today my knees are bothering me, reset and say, okay, like how can I better plant my foot? Are my feet wide enough? Where are my toes pointed? Where are my knees going? Am I grabbing the ground, you know? So it's kind of like a little corkscrew when you're grabbing the ground with your feet to get that knee travel in the right range of motion. Yeah.
So when you do the squat, do the 3 points on your feet stay on the ground at all times? You don't raise the heel up?
Correct. Yeah. Oftentimes there are definitely variations of squats where you'll see people, you know, elevating the heels or elevating the toes. For a basic squat, you're going to want the pressure mostly in the middle of your foot, and actually sometimes even towards the heel. So extra pressure in the heel is going to make sure we're not pushing the weight too far forward into the knees. But I definitely like to help people understand, you know, you want a solid plant on the ground rather than the toes coming up at the bottom as well. Yeah, good question.
What should I be feel like? I feel a lot in my quads rather than
From a squat. So squats are knee dominant, so you are going to hit your quad more than in, say, like a deadlift position or a hinge movement where your butt goes backwards, right? So the knees are the first thing to hinge here. So yeah, it's normal to feel the quad more. If you want to feel your glutes more, you could take the feet wider into a sumo squat kind of thing. So if you wanted a variation. Same principles. They all repeat themselves, but this way, you know, you take a wider stance, your toes are going to face wider. And just like we did with that other squat, the knees need to turn outward, following the direction of those feet. And from there, you get a wider stance. You're going to feel a stretch on the inner thigh, a little extra hamstring and glute work on the way up. Mm-hmm. Is that better? You feel a little bit more back of the leg and glute?
a little bit.
Yeah. You know, squats are definitely, you're going to feel the front of the quad for sure. Yeah. All right. So next up, let's do our lunges. Okay. So I saw in the workout that I did with you guys, you both did forward stepping and backward stepping. So we'll go over both of those. If you have knee problems or find that one or the other bothers your knees more, you could totally just modify to the one that doesn't, right? So you'll be putting different pressure on the kneecaps, in different positions. So work with your body. And then I find reverse stepping to be slightly less pressure on my knees. So if that's the case for you, you might modify to that. All right, so here. So for the lunge, one of the main things I see with clients is just typically not taking a large enough step. So the first thing is just going to be to take a really large step backwards. Stay up on the back toes. So we're not going to drop the heel down ever in the back. Up on the back toes here. And the back knee is going to be the mover. So the back knee is going to go down and up rather than forward and back. Okay? So torso stays right up above this back leg, and we go down and up. And same as with that squat, on that front foot, middle and back of the foot are going to be the pressure points for you. So the heel on the front leg needs to stay in contact with the ground. Mm-hmm.
That's very different.
Yeah. Awesome. Sometimes balance is a big issue with lunges. Feel free to hold on to, you know, like the back of a chair or a wall if that's something that keeps you from moving through those. It's a perfect option. So yeah, that big step, drop that back knee. And I don't know if you do one at a time or all. Yeah. So that front heel being your I see a kitten being a weight. I love it.
I wanted to join.
Oh, that's the best. Yeah, so the two pieces are A, take a big enough step, right? So if you find that it feels a little cramped, or maybe you're like, I can't get quite into the right position, try making your stride a little longer. It's almost hard to take too big of a step. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the back knee is the one that we're focusing on. Yeah, you guys look great. And make sure you're doing both legs on these single leg exercises. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So these are reverse lunges. So we'll do the forward stepping lunge. Super important to focus on that heel, right? So when we're pushing our weight forward, it's going to be easy to push onto the toes initially. So as you take your front step, focus on the heel being your point of contact. And then that back knee needs to be going straight down for that one. Yeah. And when you're pushing back, it's the heel again from the front foot. This one, if you find that your toes do like to take the brunt of the pressure, try lifting the toes up for the whole duration until you kind of get away from that, so that the heel's really driving down. You're gonna feel the hamstring and the glute muscles, the butt muscles, engage a lot more as you drive back into the heel. Yeah. That one feeling good for everybody too?
These be like straight ahead in the same line? Should it be slightly out?
Good question. Yeah. Yeah, I think usually like railroad track. So not like one leg right on top of the other, right in line with the hips. There are other variations, of course. But for primary use, mostly in line with the hips should be good for most people. Yeah. And since we're on lunges, let's do the lateral lunges, okay? The side lunges. So these ones I find are tough for everyone. We all have different length bones and different joints and angles. So it's gonna be a little bit of kind of figuring out what works best for your body to get yourself in the strongest position. So same as the squat, same as the lunge, the weight's gonna be in the heel. We still want the rest of the foot on the ground, but the heel is gonna be important because with lunges, it's tempting to push the weight forward. That loads the kneecap a lot more. So start with the stationary one, and then I know that in the video you guys do your switching sides or stepping out and stepping in. So start with your feet facing straight forward in your wide space. From here, you're gonna push your butt back first, and then you're gonna push the knee out as you come down. Yep, and then back up. And same on the other side. So butt goes back first, then you bend the knee to get you low, pushing into that heel. And I'll show it from the side. So we're going back and then over. And of course, the more comfortable you get, you can make it nice and smooth, one right into the next. So if that feels good and you're feeling like you're getting low enough and the heel's staying on the ground, great. Yeah, I'm still seeing some knee first. So extra focus on like like your belt loops are getting pulled back, and then bend that leg. And that'll help you get lower too, of course, as long as there's no pain. Yeah.
And is your upper body kind of coming forward? You're not trying to keep it
come forward a little bit. It would be really, really hard to stay upright. Yeah. So as long as you're keeping a neutral spine and not, you know, getting really lazy or anything, yeah, the chest can come forward to allow that range to get low. Yeah. You guys look really nice. Good. And so as you're doing these moving, right? So I know a lot of them, you just start to move left to right, or maybe all one side in and out. Pay attention to how the foot placement might change as we get tired, or as, you know, the movement, we just kind of might stop thinking about those pieces. So on the ones where you're stepping out and trying to find that happy position, you can totally break it up, take that big wide step, butt goes back, then we bend, and then you're coming out. So just being aware of all those pieces are gonna help as you're moving to keep it really strong. Yeah. Yeah. And this is another one where maybe a chair or, you know, the wall might help if you find that balance is an issue, or that control is an issue. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me if I talk like this?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my microphone doesn't work very well. One of the exercises we do is a jumping lunge.
Mm-hmm.
And not jar our knees too much. Like, what should we be careful with?
Thank you. Yeah, great question. So all the same ideas are going to be important. You know, landing on the heel of the foot and kind of absorbing that jump is going to be important. Oftentimes let me show you. Sometimes I see, you know, we're coming out of a lunge and trying to switch, and we'll catch ourselves before going into the next one. So it's going to be important to make it all really smooth so that we're not stopping the movement before the muscles have a chance to support the joint. So it might mean slowing it down a little bit. A couple options. So let's say it's, you know, I do a little 2 bounce sometimes to give myself that kind of momentum to switch. Think about the down portion being your catch. So you want to sink into the lunge rather than catch and then go. And then the other piece is, you know, if it does start bothering, just change it to that reverse lunge until you're feeling good. Maybe that's where you're at today, you know? Same with squats. If you're doing squat jumps, catch in the muscles, sink nice, you know, into the squat rather than stopping and then finishing. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions like that? Do you guys do other jump ones?
We do burpees, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do ergonomically right now.
Okay, I'll show a couple modifications. Let's do that now. Why not? So I love burpees, but I'm probably the exception. So regular burpees, I think you guys go all the way down to the floor. I'll show all modifications. So typical burpee is going to be hands down on the ground, jumping all the way down towards the floor, laying your chest down, coming out, jumping up, and jumping high, right? So if jumping doesn't work for you, take all the jumps out and do a step instead. So you could come down here, step into a plank, come on down, same thing, step in and come up, right? Another great modification is
You're not doing a complete push-up there. You're just laying down.
typically burpees, unless you are really focusing on the push-up form, are going to be a really smooth movement. So yeah, oftentimes, you know, of course, everyone is going to teach you a slight different way because it's a really common move. Some people are going to want, you know, if you had a coach, some coaches are going to be like, all right, this movement, I want you to focus on chest strength. So let's make sure you're doing your push-up at the bottom. Other ones, it's going to be a cardiovascular one. So it's going to be about speed. Yeah. So not wrong to do a controlled push-up. You might have learned it that way. That's totally fine if you want to keep doing it that way. I typically just like to get down and get up, however feels best to me. Yeah.
I might actually be able to do it. I was trying to do proper push-ups every time and I just couldn't.
And if you have push-ups in the next circuit, that's, you know, pretty exhausting. Yeah. And so the great way of the great thing about burpees is there's so many ways to modify them. So a no push-up burpee is a good option where you just come down. You could either step or jump back into your plank, and maybe this is as close as you go, and you come up for the top portion, right?
Oh, if I don't have to do a real push-up, I can actually do them.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, you could also do these on an incline, whether it's off of your couch or a chair or something, right? Just like the plank, because sometimes getting down and up off the ground is just like a lot. So whether you're here, and you could even do your jump out and in, or, you know, if you wanted, add your little push-up.
I'm actually really grateful that we're going over these things because I had actually never heard of a burpee before doing these workouts. So like that move would come up and I was like, okay, so like we're doing a push-up and then we're doing a jumping jack. Like what's happening?
Yeah,
cool.
I love it. I'm so glad. The other thing to know for burpees is I find it helpful if when I'm coming out of the plank that I jump my feet wider than my hands. So think of like where your feet are for your squat, right? That's typically where I like to land my feet, and I'll show you head on. So from here, my hands are underneath me. When I jump, I like to jump with them wide, and then it's just like a squat, right? Because we're already in this really solid position. Sometimes that'll help, you know, if the knees bother you at all on that move, keeping them a little bit wider, keeping the weight in the heels, just like the squat. All of those same things apply.
So without the hands, can we just go up and down? What is another thing we should do instead of wrist?
So you could do an incline forearm burpee would probably be my modification. Looking like this.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to put pressure on those wrists at all.
So it goes.
I'm watching. Yep. Yeah. And as long as that feels good, that's a good option so that your wrist gets a break.
Thank you.
I know working through injuries can be a challenge in itself. Any other questions on the burpees?
I have just a question. I noticed that you're wearing tennis shoes, and I brought tennis shoes into this room, but I have carpet, and I couldn't figure out if wearing tennis shoes was better or worse. I also had a yoga mat, but I got rid of that because it was too much taking the yoga mat up and down. My room is small.
I think it's personal preference. If you like working out in shoes, or if you find that maybe the arch of your foot gets tired working out barefoot, then maybe a combo so that you're building up that strength, or taking out the jumps while you're barefoot.
I was just wondering, like for ankle strength, if maybe a tennis shoe might protect the ankle, since I hurt the ankle.
Yeah, so yes and no. So anytime we have, a structure that's supporting your joint or socket, you're gonna be, yes, supported so that you're maybe not getting that same injury again, right? So it doesn't go back to where the position that initially bothered it, but you're also keeping it from being strengthened because it doesn't get to play around with that position again. So make sure it feels good. And, you know, if you have any issues, like talk to your doctor for sure. But if you play around with it and maybe a little bit of both feels better, so you're giving it some strength through the exercises, and then also giving it some support maybe on the heavy leg movements, or the ones where you're doing a lot of lunges, you know, shoes definitely might be a good modification.
Okay.
I'd say it's personal preference hugely. And then, you know,
the carpet makes it challenging too.
Yeah, I have carpet upstairs and I prefer not to work out on carpet for that reason. But yeah, use what you got, you know, and make it feel good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Okay, I think there's just a couple other movements that I have written down. And then if there's anything you guys can think of that I haven't done, let me know. Okay, so we've got some crunches, the straight leg cross crunch. I don't know exactly what that one's called, but made my own name for it. And then the glute bridge, the single leg glute bridges. Okay, so yeah, let's come on down on our backs. So for the crunch, I think it was just a regular crunch. So we kind of went over a second ago, my hollow body position hold. The same principles are going to be applying here. Is that it's not so much, you know, how high can I get my head off the ground? It's more, how much of a squeeze can I get between the rib cage and the hip bones, okay? So if you're just doing a regular crunch, right, your feet are on the ground, your heels or your toes, whatever works best for you. From here, fingertips are going to be super light, right? I'm not pulling on my head at all. We're keeping the elbows wide. I like to imagine that my chin is going up to the ceiling because it gives my neck that length that feels good. So from here, the chin is going to go up and the rib cage tucks down towards my hip bones. And from there, rather than using the neck and pulling forward to get higher, we're going to contract the abdominals to get higher, right? Which is what we really want for this move. So chin up, squeeze, and then coming back down. Yeah? How's that feel for everybody? Yeah. Yeah, so the couple things to remember are just light fingertips. So sometimes when we, you know, clasp the hands behind the head or pull the elbows in front, we end up pulling even when we don't mean to. So light fingertips, I usually just have them touching my head and not really gripping. And that way, you might not get up as high, and that's totally fine, because now we're focusing on the core muscles doing the work rather than any other part of the body, like the arms or the neck. Okay, and then there's that move with the legs are straight up doing a cross-body crunch. So this one, you can have the legs straight, you could bend them. So we could be here. If that bothers the hamstrings, just bend them. Keeping in mind just to keep the knees over the hips, right? Rather than bringing them up closer. That's gonna already be loading the core when we're in this position. And then the straight arms are gonna go up and over to the side, alternating. Same idea here, right? We don't want the neck to be doing this work. You want the core. So if you can't get up any higher, that's okay. Try not to pull the neck into it just to get another inch. Just contract those core muscles and you'll get stronger and stronger and get higher. And same with the straight legs, up and up, keeping them in line with the hips and not further over the body. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, it's tempting to let the legs come towards you, right? Yeah. Awesome. And I really love that. I see someone with their feet up on a chair. I love that modification. So if holding the legs up is, you know, a little too much, taking your chair or whatever object you've got and still getting your core work in without having to load those legs all the time. I really think that's an awesome modification. Yeah, perfect. You guys look good. Let me see, any other ones that I can think of? Oh, single leg glute bridge. That was the one. All right. So I love this move. Commonly, if you, the couple of things you might feel are maybe a little low back engagement, or maybe you're not feeling it in the glute. So a couple things. So if we're doing both the legs, you're going to pull the heels in close to the butt. I usually just put my hands on either side of my body. I do like to lift my toes up for this one. If you want to have the whole foot down, that's fine. I just feel like it really helps engage the back of the leg when my heel is the part of my foot pressing down. So from here, squeezing the butt, nice and simple, we come up into this, you know, angled position. The few things that you might see or do are going to be to try to get as high as we can, right? And one of the things that happens is we arch the back to get higher. And that you might feel extra pinch in the low back. So my recommendation is to just focus on the glutes, squeeze them as hard as you can, and when you can't go any higher, that's the end of your movement, rather than saying like, okay, here I am and I want to go higher, right? Because that's just going to engage or crunch the low back rather than engaging more glute and hamstring. Same with the single leg. So I like my leg up in the air. You could have it long, whatever feels best. Similarly, hips, you want them in line. So we're pushing into one leg. Try not to let this one go cattywampus. Try to squeeze through that heel, lift the hip up in line with that knee, right? And then coming down. So the shoulder and the hip pretty much stay in line. There's no real back arching. It's all in the glute. And then whenever you're ready, try a couple on the other side. Same deal. If you just don't get up any higher, that's fine. Just squeeze the glute as hard as you can. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So if you love the glute bridges and you find that they're just a little, that they feel good, but you maybe want a more challenging modification, the option is going to be to lift your feet a little bit so that it's kind of like a lower position that your body is in than your heels. So if you had a step or, you know, a box like I've got over here, that's a perfect variation if you want to make it a little harder. So I'll show you here with, I've got a little step, but you could use anything, you know, like a box of drinks that's sturdy, whatever you've got at home. So you just put your feet up here, and now I'm a little bit lower. So when I'm going through my range of motion, I have, you know, a little extra, and same with the single leg. Just squeezing the hamstring and glute. Yeah.
Hey, Laurel, if one-legged legs are too difficult, would be putting 2 feet up there, make it in that middle ground? Like one's still too easy now, one's still too hard.
Yeah, yeah, making it just a different range. Yeah, that's a great variation, is to have both feet, but a better range of motion. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. How's that feeling for everybody? Everyone feel their butt? Good.
So I haven't been feeling my butt as much as the front of my leg. So but I just pulled my heel in closer to my butt, and I think that's the difference, right?
Perfect. Yeah, it's not wrong the other way, but you're right. The different angle that you found by having your foot further away versus closer, you're gonna get more hamstring on one and more quad on the other. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody can play around with that, you know, the foot being a little bit further away from your butt and a little closer. You'll feel it differently. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much fun stuff to play around with exercises. Cool. Are there any moves that I might have missed or skipped over, or any things that you guys have questions about individually now?
Could you just review the position of the push-up?
Yeah.
And how, because I've hurt this part of my shoulder from You know what? I think I did it on mountain climbers. I think it was the bouncing, you know?
Yeah, and it's a lot of stress, right? Like they burn no matter what, right? So, yeah. So if you guys want, so put your hands out in front of you and rotate without doing anything with your elbow and without doing anything with your wrist. Rotate your whole arm. So it should feel like you're kind of pinching the back of your armpit. And then when you come forward, it should just be kind of like relaxed, but a little bit more shoulder coming forward. So as you're pinching the armpit, that's external rotation. So think outward. And as you're coming in, that's internal rotation. Neither one is good, neither one is bad. They're both really important, right? We need one, we need the other for balance. But oftentimes when we have issues in the front of the shoulder is we're a little bit too internally rotated. If you do a lot of front facing like computer work or driving, these muscles get really strong and the other ones get weakened. So when you're in a plank or a push-up, these ones take over and the other ones maybe aren't stabilizing the way that they should. So when we're finding that beautiful plank and push-up, that's going to be the important piece to add in. And that's kind of the corkscrew effect you might have heard from myself earlier or, you know, another instructor at some point. So when we pull that shoulder back and down into external rotation, you're stabilizing through that full shoulder blade scapula. So right here, I like hands outside of my shoulders just a little bit. And so whether you're on your knees or your toes, let's find that really, let me move this. Find your strong plank again. So weight is going to be shifted forward. Hips are tucked under. And then the elbows are going to go slightly backwards. So think your chest is aiming in between your thumbs. That's going to keep the weight forward and in the chest rather than in the front of the shoulder. Yeah, so the things that we'll see commonly are as someone comes down, those external rotators get tired and we kind of face forward and the shoulders come forward here. So if that's the case, maybe try an incline or you can try just stopping your range when you feel that start to happen and slowly get deeper and deeper the more that you're able to control that internal rotation happening. Does that make sense? And I can, Rebecca, that's, you asked the question, right?
So when I have my arms like this, I don't want my elbows to come out when I'm pushing up, right?
Correct.
But I don't want them in. I'm not doing a tricep push-up either.
Yeah.
So here.
Yep. And so in that bottom, think thumb actually a little bit lower on the body. Do you feel how that opened up your chest immediately? Yeah. So that's the idea. So all those external rotators I was talking about, those are what pulls our chest higher and lets everything open up. So when you're here, it actually just happened really naturally. So when you're pushing back, you want, or pushing up, the wrist and elbow should be in alignment.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to do the push-up productively because the shoulder was irritated.
Yeah. Oh, that can last for a long time if, you know, something's just continually kind of bothering you. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you can do those same principles, you know, a wall push-up, you know, really take it way down in intensity there, or on just a, you know, an incline on the back of a couch or whatever you've got at home. Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Just as a general question about repetitive movement, like we're doing the 7-minute and the 9-minute workouts in theory every single day, you know, and I've heard that doing the same thing every single day is not necessarily like actually building up or your body gets used to it or whatever. And like, what are you like what, how do you feel about the fact that we're doing this every single day?
Well, so a couple pieces is repetition is really important for building anything. So anytime that, you know, especially in this day and age, you know, we see a lot of, like, I do at least, Instagram people doing a different workout every single day. And that you won't be, you know, it'll be fun and you'll be moving your body and getting your, you know, and that's awesome. And that's, you know, great for cardiovascular health and, you know, our mental health. But you probably won't be building up too much strength or stamina through those specific exercises when changing it every day. So repetitive exercise is actually really important for getting any sort of long-term gains from it. And, you know, we just need repetition to be comfortable with the movement enough to continue to improve and build. So, you know, doing it every single day, not a bad idea. I definitely urge all of you to, you know, check in with yourself. 7 days a week of exercise is, you know, not a bad thing at all. If you find yourself being tired or, you know, feel like all your workouts are worse than they used to be, that's some things to pay attention to. You might need a day off, or, you know, you might need some some food before your workout, or some ways of giving yourself some energy. None of these exercises are, you know, heavily loaded. So they should all be, you know, of course, barring any other health problems, they should all be fairly okay to do regularly. Now, you're mostly body weight here, so oh, and there's a single leg deadlift. I just remembered that one. So these should all be fairly okay to do, you know, unless you have a specific, you know, issue with a movement. But yeah, listen to your body. If you feel like, you know, oh, I used to have all this energy for my workouts and now I don't, and I've been doing it every day, so I feel like I should be better. That's a really good thing to notice. Maybe a little overworking. Maybe give yourself a day off. I definitely take a full rest day. But yeah, it's very individual. Some people are able to work out every single day in, you know, a low intensity setting and be totally fine. Other people are going to need 1 or 2 days off a week to keep that recharge.
What do you mean by loaded? You said none of these exercises are loaded.
Yeah, so, you know, you're not holding on to a weight or putting a weight on your back. So, you know, as individuals, you know, we move our body all day, every day. So your body is fairly used to, you know, using the weight that you have to do movements every day. So not loading with anything extra.
I see.
Yeah, isn't going to add that extra central nervous system stress that, like, you know, a heavy weighted day would.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question, you guys.
I mean, I also think it's important, like if I go for a long walk with a friend, 2 hours, you know, it's important to then pay attention the next day, and I exercise, but then I'm going to go for another walk. For me, maybe that's all too much.
Yeah, just paying attention to your
walk and the new thing, you know, like I need to rest.
Yeah,
absolutely. But hopefully I'll build up.
Yeah.
Like anything else. It's like dancing. I could only do 1 or 2 contra. Now I can never take a break, but.
Exactly. Yeah, I think something that resonates really deeply with me is the phrase, if you think you're going 100% of the time, you're never going 100%. If you feel like you're giving it your all the time, and that, you know, you don't have much left in the tank, it's really important to take, you know, a day off to let your body recover, because even if you are used to it, sometimes we do need a recharge. That is definitely important. Yeah.
So we do a back workout sometimes, and one of the moves they do feels insane, I think, for all of us, and it's on the and then you lift your legs. Is that
that awful thing.
Cool. Yeah. So that's going to be really similar to the pieces we talked about for the dips. So making sure that the shoulders are pulled back, the chest is high, and on that one, you're going to have to squeeze your butt extra hard to keep the hips up. So if we're on the ground, cool. And you said you lift the leg. So yeah, so opening up the shoulder, pushing away the ground, and getting super high, and then either lifting a leg, or maybe even you're here. This is a great modification. Lifting a leg at a time. Yep.
That's much more civilized, yes.
Yeah. It's a lot of stress on the shoulder and these tendons. So if you find that just that position is challenging, yeah, lift the hips a little bit or bend the legs. You could also, you could also be here, and it takes a little bit of that pressure off of the front of the body. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Anytime you have those arms pulling back, chest up, right? Shoulders down and away. Those things we hear often, but maybe we aren't like connecting. Check in, do those little checklists of, okay, how open is my chest? All that good stuff. Yeah. I love those. They're really good for stretching while moving, but they're intense. Yeah. Fun. Yeah, I'd be happy to hang out a little bit longer and answer any other questions you guys have, but yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really.
Things were helpful. Thank you.
I'm so glad you guys came and got some value out of it. So good. I'm so glad. I hope that, some of those adjustments really do like either help you figure out a move a little bit better or maybe give you something to do differently. So yeah, I'm really happy to hear that.
It's also really nice to hear validation that, like Audrey asked, is it bad to do, oh no, she's still there. Is it bad to repeat what we're doing? And we've kind of been basing it on what feels right. Like we feel like it's really nice to hear you say that
yeah, our bodies are really smart. So, sometimes
these aren't, but the body is.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have that little reminder of, yeah, your body does know what it's talking about. Like, yeah, if there's something that comes up, definitely worth, taking time for it. And if not, then you're doing it right, Yeah, well, good. Very happy.
Awesome.
Gotta go, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, Laurel.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So much.
It was fun.